Nationals are finally back to full strength in the batting order. LeVar, I want to start with you. They win last night over Colorado, big sixth inning, where you finally sort of saw the potential of this batting lineup that sees Wilson Ramos batting eighth. But I want to get to the comments of Bryce Harper before the game, and he talked about where he thought the positioning should be. Obviously, a lot of conversation about where Zimmerman should play. He ended up at third base yesterday, which I think surprised some people. But he says, I think Zim should be playing left. Rendon's a good third baseman. He should be playing third. We've got one of the best second basemen in the league in Espinoza. Of course, we want the best hitting lineup in there. But I think Rendon playing third and Zim playing left is something that would be good for this team. I think that should be what's happening.
And, of course, Espinoza didn't play yesterday.
Correct.
So I think
How do you manage that if you're Matt Williams?
I think that you have the conversation with Bryce to just kind of play. Just play. If you want to talk about yourself, talk about yourself. Talk about how happy you are. I think this is more of an advice approach than reprimanding him or telling him you're wrong or anything like that. Because to be honest, I don't know the young man, but it seemed as though it came off innocent. Like you're talking about in your mind what you envision seeing out there as a player, and he might have not even taken the time to add, 1 + 1 to get. I'm singling out a player on the team that I'm on, and so I think that this should be a much more mature approach to it. Now, if it comes back some way somehow within that clubhouse that he did mean it that way, then now that's a totally different conversation, because you don't want to have a player create cracks within the chemistry and the continuity that this team seems to be forming at this point in the year. So it's going to be Matt Williams' task to figure out what direction Bryce was coming from. If he meant it, it's a different conversation. You need to shut your mouth and let me make the decisions. If he didn't realize what he said, then you just kind of help him to understand that. Keep the conversation in this realm here and leave those decisions and those conversations to me.
Keith, the team's coming off a road trip. They had an off day. It's bobblehead night for Bryce Harper. He's making his return. It's a fun atmosphere, big crowd at Nats Park. How surprised were you to hear this pregame out of Bryce?
It's surprising to hear a player say that to go against his manager pretty much at any time, but it's not as surprising because it's Bryce and because he's been sort of young and loose cannish. Yeah, brash. That's a better way to put it. But it's clearly Bryce didn't think through the impact of what he was going to say, or if he did, it's pretty devious. But I think it's safe to assume he probably just answered the question, free form. And what he thought made the most sense. Now, personally, I like the lineup with the bats in it.
That's the best hitting lineup.
Yeah, with Zim at third and Rendon at second. That's the lineup with the bats.
Right.
And I just don't think he thought through all the way the impact of what he said, and the fact that we'll be talking about it a day later.
I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit because, first of all, he was asked about this last week when he was at Potomac, and he said that he wanted to play center field. And already then people were saying, well, there's actually a veteran in center field right now, so it's not, it's probably not your decision to say, I just want to go play center field. So, I mean, I think that the ground had already been laid for this debate last week, and he should have realized at that point, yeah, this is not my place. But I think, furthermore, you look at Ryan Zimmerman, who's still the heart and soul of this team, and the way he's handled it, and he just has said every single right thing for 3-4 weeks, whatever it's been. I will play wherever they need me to, and he made it. I mean, I think he made it clear that as a veteran, as someone whose arm is almost shot, that he would prefer not to be at third base, but he said every right thing. And for Bryce to come out literally the first time that he meets with the media,
before he even plays,
and to say, oh, this is what the lineup should be. I mean, it's just not his place. It's just not his place to say.
But you mentioned Zimmerman, but everybody has said the right things. It's not just Zimmerman. Yeah. Espinoza, Spanik, nobody has sort of gone out of line with Williams.
I just think it exposes more so generational gaps. When you look at Zimmerman, Zim is an old school type of guy. Mm-hmm. He handles things almost in kind of like a Cal Ripken Jr. type of way, just very, very well structured in how he approaches things.
Add a couple minutes to this discussion.
I really think that Bryce Harper is just that new millennium, new age, new generation of I don't care. Like, I'm here to do a job. I don't care if you like me. I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be me. And we just heard Johnny Manziel say, look, I'm going to be me. I don't care what you guys think. I'm going to be me. I think Bryce Harper falls into that new generation of athlete that they don't really care. I don't think they really care what we think. I don't think they care what you think. It's all about how they feel and how they approach what they're going to do.
What comes next, though? Do you expect him to come back out and sort of curb the way he sort of – do you expect him to kind of step back from that or to kind of play it down and say, hey, look, I'm going to play wherever the manager puts me?
Yeah,
that sort of thing?
He might play it down or he might not address it at all. I think really the next step is what Matt Williams does and whether it's aggressive or passive aggressive. And I'll keep playing Bryce where I feel like playing him and not address it at all. I think the manager has to assert his authority at this point, or else it does run the risk of running off the rails.
And I will say, I think we've had the debate on the show. I think there's a real good debate about whether you want that lineup with Span in there or the lineup with Espinosa. But I think one thing that's not really debatable is that you want Bryce Harper hitting higher than 6th in the lineup. And I think it's maybe just like an old school baseball thing. You work him back in at 6 when he first comes back. But I think within a day or two, he's got to be higher in the lineup.
You also do not want your team, your clubhouse, to think that Bryce Harper believes he can say and do whatever it is he wants to do.
Exactly, and that's the challenge.
We saw that
for a
take
rookie
place.
manager, this is a massive challenge.
We saw that take place with the football team,
That's right.
and you saw how that can end if you feel as though one guy is placed much higher than the rest of the team.
I think some people would argue we saw that with the hockey team too.
That's right. And if you allow if Matt Williams has to address it, regardless of how he addresses it, he has to address it because there's always that you have to, as you mentioned, assert the fact that you are the authoritative figure on this team.
There's no way he can address it by putting Harper in center tonight and having Espinosa at second, is there? And batting him clean up?
Just as
There's
long
no
as he
chance that
addresses
can be
it
the case.
in the clubhouse with those guys, that's what makes the most sense.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out over the next week.